viewers, you are welcome to Chemist AI scheme-based chemistry tutorial. SS1 first term chemistry, week 1. And the topic is Introduction to Chemistry. I have reviewed the scheme of work. So you have to check the previous video for the scheme of work so that you have the direction of where we are going to, right? There are 2 topics for the week. And I'm classifying the topics as part A and part B. So this video is about part A, the meaning of chemistry. Now, you expect me to tell you the meaning of chemistry? Of course, I'll tell you the meaning of chemistry. But before I do that, I want to ask you this strange question. Assuming I send you to an ordinary Nigerian village, would you find chemistry there? Of course, you may tell me, no, sir, there is no chemistry there, because your mind has already pictured a laboratory and a school where you go and meet chemistry. But just look around the Nigerian village. In the Nigerian village, firewood is already burning under a cooking pot. Somebody is boiling water. Somebody else is preparing food. An old iron material is undergoing rusting. Petrol is burning inside the engine of that motorcycle, and somebody is washing clothes with detergent. Now, I ask you, where did the chemistry go from the village setting? So you can see, you are not going to the school laboratory to meet chemistry. Chemistry has been happening everywhere, even before you were born. Now, if chemistry is everywhere, when you say you are studying chemistry, what exactly is it that you are studying? This will lead us to the definition of chemistry. Now, chemistry is a branch of science which studies 6 things about matter. The 6 things are the composition, the structure, the properties, the changes, the energy that drives such change, and finally, and most importantly, the uses of what? Matter. So chemistry is a matter science, just like physics. But this time around, chemistry is the study of 6 things about matter. The composition, structure of matter, properties of matter, changes of matter, the energy that drives such change, and the uses of matter. As simple as that. Now, let me simplify it further by saying that chemistry is the study of matter, the changes it undergoes, and its uses. Now, where do we go from here? I want us to calm down and look at these 6 things about matter. And I promise you, once you know these 6 things about matter very well, then you have built a very strong background of chemistry as an SS1 student. If I ask you to cram the definition now, you may pass your test today and forget it tomorrow. So that is why we must understand what these individual words mean. Very important. So I want you to calm down. Let us study what these individual words that characterize the definition of chemistry stand for, right? So that when you talk about definition of chemistry, you will visualize this picture. From chemistry, you get matter. From matter, you get composition. And from composition, you get structure. And from structure, you get to properties. And from properties, you get the changes. And from changes, the energy that drives the changes. And finally, uses of matter. So number 1 thing we'll talk about is matter. Matter is anything that has mass. And because it has mass, it occupies space. Example, wood, iron, yarn, yolk, air. Now, when I was mentioning this, something in my spirit told me to ask you, is air matter? Because I mentioned air and I know that you raised an eyebrow because you cannot see air. You can see me, you can see your body, you can see yam, iron, wood, but you can't see air. How can it occupy space? But let me tell you, air can occupy space and even exert pressure. Take the football, for instance. Why is fully pumped football with such a round shape? If you hit it, it will bounce back because it contains air inside, which even exerts pressure and occupies the space inside. But once this air inside leaves, it will be deflected and the football will collapse because what was occupying the space has left. Therefore, air is matter. Now, after talking about matter, we have defined chemistry, we have defined matter. The next is composition of matter. Composition means what matter is made up of. What kind of things make up this matter? Example, water is made up of hydrogen and oxygen, two elements, in the ratio of 2:1. And this gives us the formula of water as H2O. So in one molecule of water, there are two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom. That is how water was built up. Another example is salt, sodium chloride. Sodium chloride is made up of sodium as an element and chlorine. These atoms are packed in a way that they form crystal in sodium chloride matrix. So the sodium chloride you see is made up of tiny particles of sodium and chlorine arranged in a crystal lattice. That is composition of matter. The next, after composition, is structure. After talking about what matter is made up of, the next is the arrangement, how this matter is arranged. And in fact, I talked about it briefly while describing sodium chloride. You know, the atoms of sodium and chlorine are arranged in a fascinating way. You know, your eyes cannot see them, but look at how they are arranged, closely packed together. So you can see that chemistry is a kind of architecture, but at an atomic scale, because we are going to study different structures of the substances you see around you, which ordinarily you cannot see with the naked eyes until you use some equipment that will enable you to behold how fascinating the molecular and atomic world is. So that is structure. After structure, the next is properties. Properties of matter means the characteristics, the manifestations of matter that will enable you to distinguish which one is which one. That is properties. Like sugar and salt. Two of them are matter with different properties. Sugar tastes sweet. Salt tastes salty, right? So these are different properties. So the properties we are talking about could include color, taste, boiling and melting points, etc. And the next we are going to talk about here is changes of matter. Changes of matter. Yes, the matter you are studying in chemistry changes under certain conditions. If you subject matter under certain conditions, it begins to change. Let me use this question to teach you what change is. What happens when you put water inside freezer? It becomes ice, right? Now let me ask you, did you create a different substance, a different matter? The answer is no. It is still water in different states, solid state. And if you heat the ice, it will go back to liquid water, right? This kind of change is called the physical change because it is easily reversible. Now let me ask you again. When you burn a firewood, what happens? It changes to ash, right? Ash and gases. Now, did you create a new thing? Yes, you did. Firewood changes to ash. Ash is a new thing. Carbon monoxide is a new thing. Carbon dioxide is a new thing. Can you make them change back to wood? Impossible. And that is called chemical change. So when we talk about changes that matter undergoes, we are talking about physical and chemical changes. I will even tell you that some chemical changes can be reversed, right? But why they are not called physical changes is that new substances are created. But in physical changes, no new substances are created. Then we talk about energy. Now, when you burn firewood, does it release heat? Of course, yes. The release of heat is an evidence that changes that matter undergoes are accompanied by either release of energy or absorption of energy. When ice melts, does it release energy or absorb energy? Of course, it absorbs energy. Even physical changes require energy. So you cannot talk about changes without energy involvement. That is why energy is so important in studying chemistry, because chemistry is the study of changes. Finally, uses of matter. In fact, chemistry would become one of the most useless studies if the matter we are studying have no uses. So when we talk about uses of matter, we are talking about how we can use the experience gathered from learning the changes that matter undergoes, its properties, structure, its composition, to apply them in a way that will benefit. And also, the uses of this matter directly form part of uses here. So uses is the most important aspect of chemistry. Before I end this lecture, I'll bring you to Chemist AI intellectual moment about what we have just studied, especially the chemical changes. So, when an ordinary person that did not watch this video sees a firewood burning, do you know what he sees? He will simply see a burning firewood and will not see anything beyond. That is why there is a difference between seeing something and thinking like a chemist. You will simply say the fire is burning, right? But when you see a piece of firewood burning, what do you see? You will ask about 4 questions. 1, you will ask, what substance is burning? 2, you will ask, what are the products formed as a result of the burning? You will also ask, where are the energy coming from? You will also ask, why does the process produce heat and light? So you see, chemistry will make you look at ordinary things with extraordinary questions. And again, chemistry will train you to ask what, why, and how. But if you lack the knowledge of chemistry, you may end up asking what and never care about why and how. Before I end the lecture, I'll give you a test. The test is displayed on the screen. You will do the test and do this WAEC NECO standard question. You are going to submit in our next class. And the topic is the career prospects related to chemistry. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, share this video, and make it go as wide as possible. Bye.